Hey everyone, it's Lisa Mears here, and today I'll be sharing 7 brand new colors of lunar paste. And what's special about these colors is that they are all neon. They are so bright and vibrant, and you can definitely use these to make cards that have a more retro or 80s vibe. In today's video, I will start off swatching the new colors of lunar paste, and then I will make 4 cards. If you are not familiar with lunar paste, it's a creamy, colorful paste that has a metallic sheen. It's versatile and allows you to apply it through stencils or directly onto your cardstock using a palette knife or a blending brush. Lunar paste goes on wet, but it does dry permanently. There are so many different colors of lunar paste on the market, but I'll be making cards today with the new neon lunar pastes. So I'm going to start out by swatching these pastes so that you can see what they look like on both white and black cardstock. And the cardstock that I'm using today is the Scrapbook.com mixed media cardstock, and this cardstock is super smooth and very thick. It's perfect for these wet mediums. This cardstock is about 140-pound cover. So the first color that I laid down is called Hot Mess, and that is the bright pink. The orange color is called Tangent. The darker yellow is the Yellow Jacket. Then there's a brighter yellow, which is Voltage. The green is called Dart Frog. And then we have the blue, which is No Chill, and the purple, which is Mood Ring. I love how the color of lunar paste is the same whether it's on the white cardstock or the black cardstock. The color does not change at all. And look how vibrant it is against that black cardstock. I just love the way that looks, and I'll be making several cards today that have that black cardstock. You can see here that I just applied it with a palette knife, and the nice thing about applying it with a palette knife is that you can determine how thin or thick you want it, and you can also make it have a little bit of texture when using the palette knife to apply the paste. You can also apply it with an ink blending tool and even your finger to get an even smoother application. And I have a video that I'm going to link at the top right corner of this video showing you 6 ways to use lunar paste to make cards. So be sure to check that one out after this video. So let's go ahead and make some cards, and I'm going to start out by taking out my non-stick silicone craft mat from Scrapbook.com. I love this craft mat because it's perfect for mixed media. So far I haven't found anything that I've used sticks to this mat, which I love. I'm also going to take out the party stencil from Scrapbook.com and the white mixed media cardstock from Scrapbook.com. I'm going to go ahead and put my cardstock with the stencil on the mat, and I'm going to use some Scrapbook.com mint tape to hold the stencil with the cardstock down to my mat. Now this stencil is a layered stencil. It has little pieces of confetti, which is perfect for birthday cards, and in fact that's what I'm going to be focusing on today, is making birthday cards. So I'm also going to be taking out my Scrapbook.com all-purpose scraper, and I'm using a palette knife to dip it into the lunar paste, and then I'm putting a little bit of the lunar paste on the craft scraper, and notice that I'm not overlapping any of the lunar paste. Instead, I'm putting all of the different colors on a separate spot there on the craft scraper, and I'm going in rainbow order. And when I get to that last color, which is the purple color, I'm going to start back over at the beginning so that I have that entire scraper filled up with lunar paste. Also note that between each color application, I am wiping off any excess lunar paste from my palette knife before I dip it in the next color, because I don't want to contaminate the next color with a previous color. Once I have all the colors, I'm going to start at the top and just scrape all the way down and fill that entire stencil with color. Look at all of those beautiful colors. Wait till you see me pull the stencil off because it's just even more pretty when you pull the stencil off. Notice also I still have all of that lunar paste left over on my craft scraper, and I'm going to use that here in just a moment because we don't want to waste what's left on that craft scraper. So I'm going to pull out a piece of the black mixed media cardstock, and I'm also going to take out my scrapbook.com dashed stencil. I'll add some mint tape to the sides to hold it down, and then I'm going to take my craft scraper, start at the very top, and I'm going to go down that stencil. Now that stencil has vertical lines on it, so you definitely want to go in the direction of those vertical lines. If you go in the opposite direction, you might get some lunar paste underneath your stencil, and you definitely don't want to do that. So just go from the top all the way down towards the bottom, filling in all of those spots. Now I did have a few spots that needed to be filled in a little bit better with my palette knife, so I'm just taking a little bit of the lunar paste off of the craft scraper and adding it to the small spots that needed a little bit filled in. You guys, look how gorgeous that lunar paste is on that black cardstock. I love all of those colors and all of that shine. Now I still had some lunar paste left over on my craft scraper, so I'm just taking out a piece of white cardstock and I'm just adding it to that piece of white cardstock. No stencil, just the white cardstock by starting at the top and scraping it all the way down to the bottom, and look how pretty that is. So I'm going to set those aside to dry. And if you want to speed up the drying, you can always take your heat tool and dry it yourself. Since this first background is already dried, it will allow me to add the second layer. Now, when you're using a two-layer stencil, that is such an important thing to do, is to make sure that your first stenciled background is completely dry before adding the second stencil. Otherwise, if you add the second stencil too soon, while your background is still wet, you're going to end up smearing that lunar paste that you have on your cardstock. So just make sure it's completely dry. If you have to take a heat tool to it, go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to repeat the same process with putting each color on my craft scraper. And once I have all of the colors on there, I'm going to again start at the top and scrape all the way down to the bottom to fill in all of the confetti openings. What's really cool about this craft scraper is it's 6 inches wide, which is the same width as my stencil. So I just have to start at the top and scrape all the way to the bottom, and it will cover the entire width of my stencil. For this next stenciled background, I'm using the scrapbook.com Stars stencil with the remaining lunar paste that I have on my craft scraper. So again, starting at the top, scraping all the way to the bottom. You can see how that craft scraper, it's the same exact width as that stencil, which makes it so much easier. If I had a smaller craft scraper, I would have to go in sections and it would take a little bit longer to do. So look how gorgeous that shine is on all of those stars. Oh my gosh, I love how this turned out. As I did previously, I'm going to take the extra lunar paste on my craft scraper and add it to this piece of white cardstock. Gosh, I love that rainbow color. You can see all of that metallic shine. It is so stunning. Now before I clean off that stars stencil, I am going to spritz it with some water and just turn it over here on this piece of white cardstock. And then I'm going to take out a brayer and I'm just going to roll that brayer on top of the stencil just to get a lot of that lunar paste off of the stencil onto the cardstock. So this is another way that you can create a background so you're not wasting any of that lunar paste. And once this dries, you can definitely use this for a card background. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean off this nonstick mat. You can see I just spritzed it with water and I'm just using a paper towel to wipe off all of this lunar paste. And as far as the stencil and the palette knife and this craft scraper, I'm just going to run that down to my kitchen sink, run it under some hot water, and I'm just going to use a paper towel to get all of the lunar paste off of those. So let's take a look at these backgrounds again. These are fully dry. I have the party stencil, the stars stencil. I think my favorite is putting that lunar paste on the black cardstock, but you can see I used the leftovers there on the left from the stencil, and here we have the dashed stencil. So pretty. And then I also have the other two backgrounds that I created by just taking the excess lunar paste and scraping it onto the cardstock. I love all of that shine. And I'm actually going to use these for die cutting. You can use them as card backgrounds if you wanted to, but I'm going to use them to die cut. Now that I've created all of my backgrounds, let's go ahead and make some cards. I have this paper pad from scrapbook.com called Bright, and I want to flip through here because I want to show you that the papers in this pad match so well with this neon lunar paste. Every single color of the neon lunar paste has a matching color cardstock in this paper pad. And this paper pad comes in the 6x8 size, and it also comes in A2 size, which is 4¼ by 5½ inches. So I'll be using paper from this paper pad on all of my cards today. For my first card, I'm going to be using the party stenciled background, which I went ahead and cut that background down into two 3¼ by 5-inch panels. I'm going to be working with one panel today. The other panel, you can make an exact duplicate of the same card that we're making right now. I'm also bringing in some alphabet dies from scrapbook.com. These are the bold basic alphabet dies, and I'm going to spell out the word yay with an exclamation mark, and for the exclamation mark I'm using the lowercase I. So I'm using this smaller piece of the cardstock that I added the leftover neon lunar paste to, and I'm die cutting my letters from there. So I start out with the Y, A, and exclamation mark, and then I'm going to come back in and do another Y. So real quick, I want to mention this new tool that I'm using from scrapbook.com. It's their Craft Pick Pro tool, which has 4 tools in one. And the one I'm using right now is just a poker tool, which allows me to get the die cuts out of the dies. You can also twist off this end, and there's another sharp tool on here, and I believe that other end there is for diamond painting, so if you're into diamond painting. And then you have the wax tip tool, which is a replaceable tool that's useful for picking up small sequins or die cuts. And then you have this scraper tool that you can use to get under your papers or under your adhesive to take the backing off, and so on. But there are 4 tools in one. It's a really useful tool. And I also want to quickly mention that I will have all product links for everything that you see today down in the description box below, as well as on my coordinating blog post at lisamearsdesigns.com, and that blog post link will be also in the description box below. If you are making a purchase, I always appreciate when you use my affiliate links because it does help support me. Alright, so I'm going to add another sentiment to this card, and I'm using the stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh. It's the Easter Sentiments, and it says, "It's your special day," and I stamped it out with an ink that matches the Mood Ring Lunar Paste, which is that purplish pink color. I die cut the sentiment with the coordinating die. And now I'm just going to add some foam to the back of my letters as well as my sentiment. And I'm going to pop these up on my card panel. So I'll have yay in the middle, and I'm going to have the sentiment underneath. And you can see by just adding some foam under there, it lifts it up off of that background and just gives it a little bit of height. And now I'm going to take a piece of cardstock that matches this ink color. That was the confetti pink ink color from scrapbook.com. And I'm going to use this as a card layer. So I'm going to cut this down to 4¼ by 5½ inches, and then I'm going to add my card panel right on top, and then I'll add that entire layer to an A2 size card base. And that was such an easy and quick birthday card to make. So for my second card, I'm using the Pretty Pink Posh Stars cover plate with some of the black mixed media cardstock. And I went ahead and die cut the cover plate. Notice that it does cut out all of these stars. These stars do have stitching on them. You can actually pop them back in with different color cardstock. But I'm not going to use those stars today. Instead, I'm going to use the cover plate die cut in the black cardstock, and I'm going to add it to this beautiful neon rainbow background. You can see all of the beautiful neon rainbow colors coming through those stars. It's going to be so pretty. So I just have to decide which way I want the patterns to appear behind that black cardstock, and then just cut this panel down. So this stars cover plate is actually the size of an A2 size card, which is 4¼ by 5½ inches. You can technically cut the rainbow background to the same size, but I didn't want any of the little white spots on the background to show on my stars, so I did cut my background to a little bit shorter than an A2 size. I'm going to flip this panel over and just tape down the top, and I'm going to add some glue to around the stars so that when I adhere this cover plate die cut piece to my background, it fits snugly against the cardstock. Then I'll press that rainbow pattern right onto the black cardstock. And then I'm just going to add one more piece of tape to tape it here at the top, and then I'll flip that over. Now I'm ready to work on my sentiment. I'm going to use the scrapbook.com Let's Celebrate dies. This die set comes with 2 dies, one that says Let's Celebrate and one that says Happy Birthday. I'm going to be using the Let's Celebrate. It has the words as separate words, and it also has a shadow layer. You can see there what it's going to look like. But I'm going to be using the bright cardstock, and I'm going to die cut the word let's with a different color cardstock for each letter. Once I have all those little cardstock pieces over the letters, I'm just going to hold it down with some mint tape and run that through my die cut machine. And when that comes out, you can see that each one of those letters is a separate color, including the apostrophe. The Celebrate die is a script die. I'm going to go ahead and die cut it out of that rainbow cardstock. Now you can actually use that word by itself if you wanted to. It would look beautiful in the center of that cover plate die. Or you can add it to the shadow layer, and here I cut a shadow layer out of black cardstock, but I didn't want to cover up any of those stars. So I decided to switch my shadow layer to a piece of vellum. That way the stars you can still see through the vellum. And I'll go ahead and add all of those letters onto that shadow layer. I'm just going to glue them down. And then I'm going to add glue to the back of that piece and add it to the center of my card. Now when I add glue to the back of that sentiment, I'm just adding glue behind the actual words, making sure I don't get any glue where the words aren't, because I don't want that glue to be exposed to the front of the card, and if you put it where the cardstock isn't, then you'll be able to see it through that vellum. So just add it to the center there, and I'm going to step this up a little bit further, and I'm going to bring back out my non-stick craft mat, and I'm going to put a little bit of some of these neon colors of lunar paste onto my mat, and then I'm going to take my distress sprayer and spray some water onto the lunar paste and mix it up with a palette knife so that it gets a wet consistency, a little bit more fluid than what it is in the bottle. I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm just going to dip it in the mixture of lunar paste and then just flick it on to my card front. That way I have all of those neon colors in a splatter effect on to the front of that card panel. And that's not going to take too long to dry because it's just a very thin layer of the paste. You can always run your heat gun over it, but it should be dry before you add this panel to an A2 size card front. And that will complete my second card. For my next two cards, I'm going to bring in these banner dies from scrapbook.com. These are brand new. We have the birthday banners, which has the words happy birthday and celebrate. And then we also have the celebration banners, which has some pennants as well as stars and scallops. You can see what they look like on the back side. For this card, I'm going to be using the star background that I created, and I went ahead and cut that into two panels that measure 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. I'm going to be using this scallop banner, and I die cut it out of some of the orange, yellow, green, and purple. So 4 different scallop banners, and I'm going to put those on this card background, but I'm also going to use the celebrate from the birthday banners. That's going to go in the middle. I die cut the die that you see there out of black cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the center of my card. The other banners I just placed there, so they're just sitting there for placement. I didn't actually glue them down yet. Now that is the shadow die, which I glued down. I'm going to go ahead and glue all of these other scallop banners to my card. Once they're all adhered, I'm going to cut off the excess by just flipping this panel over and trimming off the excess cardstock. Next, I'm going to take this celebrate die and I'm going to die cut this rainbow background of lunar paste. And when that comes out of the die cut machine, notice that it cuts out all of the individual letters of the word celebrate that you can now layer on that banner. So I'll go ahead and glue all of those letters onto the black shadow layer. And then I'm just going to add that to an A2 size white card base. Now if you wanted to add it to another one of the bright colored of cardstock, you can, but I thought it really popped on this white card base, so that's why I chose to use the white. For my next card, I'll use the dashed background. I did cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5. I've already done all my die cutting. I used the word happy here from the Let's Celebrate dies, and I die cut the word happy 5 different times in 5 different colors. And I die cut the word birthday out of the rainbow paper that I created with the lunar paste. I'm going to go ahead and glue all these down, and when I add these words to my cardstock, I just want to point out that the red cardstock for the word happy is going to be on top of the red dashed lines. The yellow happy will be on top of the yellow lines, the green on top of the green lines, and so on and so forth. That card was so easy to put together, just a lot of gluing those individual letters. Now I'm just going to add that to an A2 size white card base. I just love how bright and vibrant all of these cards are, and I also love the fact that these can be used for a birthday card for anyone on your list. I know a lot of you look for masculine card ideas, and this would be a super great masculine card idea as well. I will have links to all products I used in this video down in the description box below and on my blog. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like videos like this and you want to see more, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified every time I release a new video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.